most amazing true life sports stories ever. Let's talk about it with filmmaker Andy Erwin on Steve Brown, Etcetera.
He's an old white guy, an author, broadcaster, and seminary professor who's sick of religion. And he's brought friends. Please welcome Etcetera.
And this is Steve Brown, Etcetera, although technically this week it is Etcetera. My name is Matthew Porter, your humble guest host. Steve, the old white guy, is away this week, which just happens to be Christmas weekend. Listen, I'm not the conspiracy guy, but let me just put this out there. Has anyone ever actually seen Steve Brown in the same room with Santa Claus? Okay.
No.
That's as far as I'm going.
No.
I leave it to you from here, internet.
No.
Okay. Our producer, Jinx, is in his little glass booth. Jinx likes to sing, "Do you hear what I hear?" and then reply, "No, you don't."
No, you don't.
Because you are not a professional audio engineer, which is a little chippy. I mean, but I like it. It works for me.
We'll train him up. Don't worry.
Our video director, John Myers, is here. You know, the wise men brought Jesus gold and frankincense and myrrh, and I think it's probably going to take at least all of that to cover John's electric bill next month after his big Christmas light display.
That we won't see.
That we will never see because he's in a gated community.
Yeah.
You know, the saddest part about Christmas being over is going to not be able to make any more Christmas light display jokes.
Right.
John.
Until next year.
Until next year.
Well, there may be Easter lights.
Oh.
Yes, there you go. That was Dr. George Bingham. He is the president of Key Life, making a list of Key Life contributors and checking it twice. And Kathy Wyatt, our favorite Lutheran, is the soft, feminine side of the program. Kathy just tried a new cookie recipe. And Kathy, may I say, just like Martin Luther, you nailed it.
Ah.
Wow, they're getting better.
Wow.
Hashtag Luther humor. Guys, so incredibly stoked about our show today. We always say it's a good show, and that's almost always true. Sometimes we're fudging it a little, but this is 100% true. We have Andy Erwin with us back. This is at least the third time. So at this point, it's on you, man. I mean, you have to know what you're getting in for. Andy Erwin is half of the filmmaking duo, the Erwin Brothers. He also serves as chief creative officer at Kingdom Story Company. Back in 2010, Andrew and his brother John began exclusively developing dramatic feature films. And those include October Baby, Mom's Night Out, Woodlawn, I Can Only Imagine, and the Jesus Music. Their latest film is called American Underdog, and it tells the remarkable true story of quarterback Kurt Warner. Andy, welcome.
Hey, good to be with you guys again. My mind is still stuck back being blown that Steve Brown could actually be Santa Claus. So, you know, it makes sense now. It totally makes sense.
It kind of all the pieces fall together.
Yeah,
exactly right, man.
So,
That whole bah humbug thing is just a cover.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's all an act. It's all an act. It's just Clark Kent persona of being the kind of the grouch.
Yeah, the
that,
pipe
actually is. Yes, exactly.
It's like Sixth Sense. It was in front of us the whole time.
Yep,
And that makes
exactly.
Kathy Lois Lane.
There you go.
There you go, Kathy.
You guys are confusing my franchises here. Andy, I'm stoked about the chance to talk to you about this. First of all, your dumb movie made me cry, so thanks for that.
My secret's safe with me.
You won't tell anybody.
No judging.
So I want to hear about all the project and how it all came together. But really, we have to, for the uninitiated, let's set the table a little bit by giving kind of a broad view of the Kurt Warner story.
Yeah, Kurt Warner's story is the ultimate underdog story in all of sports. It is the definition. And a lot of people know kind of the tagline. You know, they remember back when they were watching him in 2000 and seeing, his story play out, the whole supermarket to the Super Bowl storyline. And but a lot of people don't know the story behind it. And I remember back in the day, I was still a cameraman for ESPN, and that's what I did John and I did to pay the bills when we were getting this, dumb film hobby off the ground. And that was what kind of kept us food on the table. And I remember I worked the Super Bowl in 2001, and when I was there, it was the year after. It was Kurt Warner's second Super Bowl, and I just watched this guy that just had become a sports legend at this point. And I watched him and his wife, this spiky-haired, tough as nails Marine lady that was in the stands, and I was like, I want to know the story behind that. And so the story that a lot of people don't know is Kurt, had been out of football for 5 years. He tried to make it after being a, 1AA school, kind of fifth year senior that only started 1 year at Northern Iowa. He washed out trying to make it in the NFL. But he fell in love with this single mom, Brenda, who was, a former Marine who had 2 kids, one of which was special needs and blind. And he fell in love with his family. And for 5 years, he fought to kind of, help this family make it. And as the father of this family, had to work at a supermarket, lived on food stamps, and played arena football on the side on the weekends, making no money. And 5 years after that, got his chance in the NFL. And not only was the MVP of the NFL, but the MVP of the Super Bowl in the year he was the league's lowest paid player. And so it's like, that is the definition of underdog. And so it's a feel good story, man. And so fast forward 20 years from me being on the sideline of that game, never would have guessed that John and I'd be the ones that get to direct this movie. It's just like too good to be true.
Yeah. And I had only, after watching the movie, did I remember that you guys had that sports broadcasting background. And so the alignment is amazing. Not only, and add to that fact that you're from Birmingham, where, right, you don't have favorite teams, you have denominations. I've been in downtown Birmingham during the Iron Bowl.
Right.
You could rob a bank and probably get away with it because everybody is.
Nobody is. It's ghost town.
Yeah. So you guys seem uniquely equipped and suited and qualified to take on this project. Tell us a little bit about how it came about and kind of the backstory on the development side of things.
It's been amazing. You're talking about the Alabama connections side of things. So I've had to become a little bit more discerning to broaden my base even beyond my Crimson roots. But this next week, Jim Harbaugh is showing it to the Michigan football team, showing the film to kind of motivate them going into the playoffs where they may face Alabama. And, being a diplomatic filmmaker, I actually may have had to put on a Michigan hat and say "Go Big Blue" on a video.
Gotta get to pay the bills.
Yeah, we're selling tickets here. The exciting thing about this was to kind of go back to those football roots and kind of make, a movie that is really accessible for the whole family. It's a great love story. And I think whether you're a fan of football or not, it's got something for everyone. But then when we got to the football, John, my brother, and the visual team, they got to show off some. And we got to do football on a scale. Lionsgate gave us the budget to do football on a scale that we've never done before. And it was pretty awe-inspiring. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, you did not skimp on the football action, which is appreciated and awesome. But there's also some other set pieces in this thing. I was like, oh, okay. Yeah. Like the devastation with the hurricane not giving anything away.
Right.
Set pieces, the winter storm part was like, oh shoot. Oh, okay. Yeah. Somebody brought the checkbook. That looks fantastic. So
it was cool. It was cool. They gave us what we needed for sure. And it's a movie that top to bottom will really catch people off guard.
Yeah. So one thing I noticed, and I appreciated the touch, is there is like a light sprinkling of language of stuff that somebody watching the show definitely said at some point this week, kicking their toe on the couch or something or other. Yeah. Talk about, there had to be some discussion around that creative choice. And I think it lends some authenticity to it.
We're excited. To me, it's a really quality PG drama. So it's accessible for the whole family, but being a football movie, and especially being the Warner story, we really, our first obligation is to tell a really great true story. Yeah. And so we really had to make it who Kurt and Brenda naturally are. And so Kurt and Brenda Warner, Kurt loves God, has an amazing relationship with God, and has been very vocal about that throughout his entire career. But he's also kind of a salt of the earth, kind of Iowa guy that is a man's man. And so we tried really hard to make it an accurate presentation of who he is and who Brenda is as a former Marine. So yeah, it's definitely a very lived in, relatable, and I would say mainstream kind of faith title. And we didn't do that as a ploy to try to go out and, be cool Christians. We went out there to say our obligation is to tell a really great true story. And what happened was we created a film together and as a team that really plays pretty broad, even outside the church walls. It's very relatable to the everyman on the street. And I think it's an opportunity for us as Christians to really humanize who we are and to reach a whole new set of people.
I love it. It's really good. I mean, you're in the heat of the drama. And if you were to see an offensive coordinator, when somebody throws a pig and go, fiddlesticks, you'd be like,
Fiddlesticks was our first choice.
Yeah.
First choice.
Like, that's, you lost me. I'm gone. Guys, we have just scratched the surface of learning more about Kurt and his wife, Brenda, and the making of this film. You are really going to enjoy hanging out for the next 45 minutes or so with filmmaker Andy Erwin. His new film is called American Underdog. It is a dynamite film. When we come back, I want to learn a little bit more about what the Warners are really like, and I would love to know when they finally saw the final finished film. What did they say? How did they react? Did they yell at Andy? I don't know. Let's find out. This is Steve Brown, Etcetera, and we'll be right back. Listening to Steve Brown, Etcetera, and we are talking with film director Andy Erwin. His new film is called American Underdog, and it's out in theaters actually today, Christmas Day, December 25th, aka I guess Boxing Day Eve, depending on where you are listening to this from. Check that out at americanunderdog.movie. In the process of making this movie, Andy and his brother and his team have been hanging out with Super Bowl winner, MVP, all-time awesome sports dude, Kurt Warner. What we talked about, to see this up on the other side, what are they like? What would they like to work with? And who are the Warners?
Okay, Matthew. So I'm going to give you a scoop that I have not told this story publicly yet, but it's hysterical. So when we first went to go meet with the Warners, we went to their house in Phoenix, and so we're there. And my brother may kill me for telling me this story, but we're there and we're meeting them for the first time. It's kind of like they're feeling us out, we're feeling them out. We want to leave a good impression because they have not agreed yet that we're the ones to direct their movie. So we're very much like, we're in the spotlight here, like, it's a test run. And we're talking and hearing their story out. And they had just adopted like a little German shepherd from the shelter who had a little bit of post-traumatic stress, I guess. And it's sitting down on the floor close to my brother. And my brother is like, hey, I need to run to the restroom real quick. And they pointed out to him. He's like, I'll be right back. He jumps up. The dog has an episode and like lunges at John and like bites his leg pretty hard. So, Kurt grabs the dog, like, hey, down, I'm so sorry about that. John's like, no, I'm fine. It's no big deal. I'm good. It's hilarious that happened. He walks into the bathroom and all of a sudden texts me a picture. He's like, I'm bleeding. And he's got this like jaws chunk out of his leg. And I'm sitting there like, so then he comes back in and just, kind of is limping and sits down and Kurt's like, he's like, oh, I'm fine. Everything's good. I'm good. To this day, I don't think they know about it. So if they hear this show, they'll be like, oh yeah. But John kept his composure and we walked out of that. They loved this. And we just said, hey, these are the guys to do the movie. So Kurt and Brenda are the real deal. It's like, everything about the way they're portrayed on screen is really a really good, photograph or I guess a portrait of who they are. Kurt is super driven. And so he cares about every detail, whether he's competing for a Super Bowl or competing on Dancing with the Stars, like it's all the same to Kurt. Like he's one speed, which can be a blessing. And also when you're getting texts from him at 3 a.m. for ideas can be a curse. Because you're just like, Kurt, it's 3 a.m. I'm sleeping. He's like, yeah. I'm sorry. But I just have these 7 pages of ideas I want to run by you guys. And then all of a sudden you get another 7 pages at 6 a.m. I'm like, dude, when do you sleep, man? But he's great. And then Brenda is one of these like she's like a fiery former Marine, lets you know her mind, lets you know what she's thinking. But once you're family, like she's loyal to you for life. And so it was a partnership between all of us being in this and making sure, I told Kurt 2 things. I said, we're going to fight really hard to honor your story. And I promise you, we're going to honor who you are. You're going to be proud of this at the end of it. But the second thing is, I won't let you make a bad movie. So if you fight for something that I'm like, hey, this is for you, but it doesn't make a good movie, I'm going to let you know. And I promise you, I'm committed that I will not let us make a bad movie. And so we went into there with that healthy tension and friction with respect. And at the end of it, I think we stuck the landing on something that does both those things, that it's a good movie, but it really is a great portrait of who they are. So it was a team effort.
It sounds like they were involved, not just they were involved throughout the process of filmmaking. Not just sending you guys off and wishing you well.
No, they were probably on set for about 50% of it, which was nerve-wracking, particularly because Kurt kept trying to talk us into letting us make him the stunt double for Zachary Levi, who plays him in the film. He's like, hey, I can still play. You put the uniform on me, it'd be great. And I'm like, Kurt, the NFL Network's insurance policy will not allow us to put you back in a jersey at almost age 50. And he's like, no, man, I'll be great. It'll be great. So he made a couple of small cameos in the film. His hands made it where he's signing the contract for the new car. That's Kurt Warner's hands signing the contract. So that's as far as we would let him go. But he tried really hard to be a stunt double. But no, they were on set for the majority of it. And it was a really great resource for the actors to be able to pull them aside and say, okay, what were you feeling here? Or how did this look? Or, what was this moment like? And particularly one of the things that was really helpful was Anna Paquin plays Brenda. And in the movie, Hayden Zoller is a little actor who's blind, who plays Zach Warner, their real son, who is blind. And Hayden is blind in real life. And so it gave Anna a chance to ask Brenda, as a mom with a kid that is blind, special needs, how do you help them? How do you make this work? And it made a really beautiful, authentic portrayal of this kind of mama bear fighting for her kiddos.
Yeah, that was a dynamite casting choice, a creative choice there. And I thought that was really an excellent way of doing that. So you've made this film. I assume there's a point where you're like, hey, guys, we have the final locked off film. It's done. And you present it. Take us through that, if you would.
Well, that's that point where everybody involved is like, sick at their stomach, kind of like butterflies, because you're like, what if they hate it? And then they're like, what if we hate it? And so, that moment we brought him to Nashville, and we decided to stack the deck a little bit. So we instead of screening it just for them, we brought in 500 people, to be in the audience, because there's something different about watching a movie with a full audience. And they were terrified going in. And, it's just really nerve-wracking to see your life on the movie screen for the first time. And we've done this with 5 other stories, so it's not our first rodeo, but we knew that that's going to be a weird experience. But they sat through it and all the tension and kind of allowing that to kind of wash over them. But at the end, the thing that was really cool was them standing in the hallway and all these people that had just seen the movie for the first time that were just man on the street. It wasn't like our crowd. It was just, we invited 500 random people to watch it with them. And they came by, and each one had such an incredible experience with the movie that it really helped Kurt and Brenda be like, okay, this is what we wanted. We wanted to connect with an audience. And in the audience, kind of the numbers don't lie. They loved it.
Oh, that's fantastic. I can't even, there's for any kind of screening, like test screening or premiere, whatever, there's enough tension and gut wrenching as it is to on top of that, the feeling of trying to accurately represent somebody's entire life,
right,
knowing, it has to by nature get reconfigured, and you're like,
right. Well, and the funny thing is like after we got done with it, you watch it, and then they got back to the house and they watched it at home on their own. And then Brenda reached out and she's like, I blacked out when we watched it. I don't remember anything from the theater. This is a good movie.
It really is a good movie. And Andy touched on this earlier. You may be going, do I need to like football to enjoy this movie? First of all, you don't like football. Contend with this question. Am I a communist? Let's not rush past that question. But once you get on the other side of that, no, you don't actually have to love football. It's a love story, and it has some really poignant and earned moments. You're going to love it. It's called American Underdog, and its co-director is with us right now, and we are going to talk more to him on the other side. Listening to Steve Brown, Etcetera, bless your heart. And we are talking to film director Andy Erwin. Keep up with Andy, if you can, on Facebook and Instagram at Kingdom Story Company. And check out the trailer for Andy's new film. It's American Underdog movie. And you know what? If you're looking for something this weekend, next weekend, this is a sure bet. It's a good one for the whole family.
Mm-hmm. Andy, you touched on it just a little bit before the break when you talked about the little boy that plays their son Zach, and I was going to ask you about that, because my first question was he really actually blind the way the Warner's son is, and you answered that part, but was this in particular with all of them, but in particular with him, because obviously there would be things that would be different if you're working with somebody that's special needs. Was this a kid that you guys had worked with before, or how did you find him? And I'm interested principally in obviously in Kurt and Brenda, those that play those two roles. Cause I thought I stopped the movie on my screen before we started, and I'm right in the middle of arena football. Yeah, so I have a ways to go yet, but anyway, she just amazes me. So anyway, the three of them.
Yeah, it was definitely about the three of them. Because when we sat down with Kurt and Brenda the first time, we just said, what do you see your story as? And they said, football is an obvious, but it's really about, Kurt and saying it was really about me and my wife, Brenda, fighting to stay together. And my relationship with our son, Zach, who is blind. And that inspiring what happened on the field. And I'm like, okay, there's our movie. So it really came down to who we cast for those people. And so, like you talked about Hayden Zoller that plays their son, Zach. Hayden is first of his kind. We knew that we had to really, for authenticity's sake, we needed a blind actor, but there had never been an actor as young as he is, who is blind, that had done a big project like this. And to our knowledge, we couldn't find anybody. And so it was really a whole new thing. So we did casting sessions with, young aspiring actors, across the country, did thousands of them in order to find the right one, and work with a lot of different organizations that work with the special needs community, trying to find somebody. And we found Hayden, and his story is amazing. He was adopted out of China when he was 5 years old. He went blind at about a year old, and which is similar to, storyline to the real Zach. He favors Zach tremendously. They look a lot alike. And both of his parents, his adoptive parents, are both actors in Atlanta that are theater actors. And so he just had that world was kind of familiar to him. And so we brought him in, and we had to, kind of pattern our whole filming around how he works. So I would take him in with his mom, Shannon, to set, a day early. We'd walk through, and he had to visually map out the entire room to be able to know where everything was. We had different commands and things that would help him. But the thing is kind of like, when somebody, maybe has a struggle or a disability in an area, their other senses are kind of heightened. It wasn't a drawback for him. We didn't have to kind of, I didn't have to slow anything down. Like, he kept up with our pace and actually pushed us a lot because he was just so smart. And we loved working with him, and he steals a lot of the scenes that he's in. And so it really started with him. And then for Kurt and Brenda, when we started looking at the headshots of Kurt Warner, we kept saying, oh my gosh, he looks just like Zachary Levi. And Zachary Levi, of course, was on the TV show Chuck, and then went on to become Shazam in the whole DC universe. So he's a superhero. And I was like, he looks just like him. But I knew that he was really busy and booked. And so we've been friends for a long time. I used to go to a Bible study at Zach's house, and back when I was a young filmmaker. And so we were FaceTiming on something else. And he said, what's this Kurt Warner movie I keep hearing my name thrown around in? And I said, well, Zach, I wasn't going to pitch it to you because I know you're busy. And he's like, send me the script. And I sent him the script. And he's like, I love this. Let's make a movie. He's like, let's make a football movie. So I called my brother up, and I was like, I just landed Zachary Levi. And I didn't really mean to, but he's in. And so, and then, with Brenda, Anna Paquin's an Oscar winner. She's the youngest Oscar winner of all time for the piano. And when she came into the project, she said, I've always done edgy material. I've never done anything about faith. Is that a problem for me playing a Christian? And I said, Anna, absolutely not. As long as you can fight to understand Brenda's faith and what it means to her. And she's like, well, that's exactly what I want to do. And I'm like, well, then who wouldn't want an Oscar winner? And so she came in, and her first week she came in, she's like, I understand from researching and reading all of Brenda's books, this is more of a relationship than it is a religion. And exactly, she got born again. When did she get born again? What does being born again mean? And we walked through all of it. And I think she played it just gorgeously. So top to bottom. And then we got Dennis Quaid back in from our Only Imagine days. So it was a great cast. Great cast.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
It really is a dynamite cast. You've got a killer story from the start, right? Faithfully and artfully put together into this, 120-minute film. The cast takes it over the top, and just dynamite casting. The film is called American Underdog. It is out in theaters today. Go check it out. You got some downtime during the holidays. Get back into theaters, man. That's nothing that represents that at home. It's really a unique, singular experience, and this is a good one to venture out and look into. It's called American Underdog, and we are going to be right back. Joining us on Steve Brown, Etcetera. By the way, the next time you're shopping on Amazon, you can help Key Life at the same time at no extra cost to you. That's pretty awesome. Check out keylife.org/Amazon Smile to learn all about that.
Andy, we were talking a little off air about the strategy for the timing of the release, coming out on Christmas. And what's behind that? I mean, it definitely is a movie that for the whole family. And what was the thinking behind that, targeting that timing?
Well, Christmas Day release is something that I never considered ever being an actual possibility for anything I would do for my whole career. It is the Super Bowl of film. I mean, it is the biggest day of the year for the movie theater. Everybody typically, they open presents, and then as a family, they're like, let's go watch a movie. And so it's really rare air, especially for anything having to do with faith. But when we started screening the film, we did test screenings, hired this organization, Lionsgate hires this organization that's impartial, and they come in and do this big scientific thing where they do all the test screening with an impartial crowd and do focus groups and that type of thing. And they just absolutely pick at every insecurity that your movie has. But at the end of it, they come back with the hard numbers, and we sat down and looked at it, and the numbers were off the charts. That not only did it play really well in the overall numbers, but 50% of the crowd felt like it was a great football movie, a great sports drama. The other 50% felt like it was a great romantic story. And that's a 4-quadrant film.
4 quadrant. That's right.
That is about compromise. And the key to winning Christmas is compromise, is the idea that the whole family goes together. And, you know, there's other films that are going to be, incredibly big. Like Spider-Man is going to break all the records this year. So there's no even chance that any film's ever going to catch Spider-Man. But after all the kids have gone and seen Spider-Man, you got Christmas Day and the family gets together and they're like, well, The Matrix is more for, rated R guy crowd. And we've already seen Spider-Man. What can we do as a whole family? And then all of a sudden American Underdog is there. And it's a great compromise film for the whole family, that it can appeal to all 4 quadrants. So Lionsgate came to us and like, you're going to think we're crazy, but we're coming out on Christmas Day. And we're like, at that point I went over and threw up in a trash can. I was like, oh, I didn't a minute. But after that, I was like, okay, let's do this. And so we're excited. It's a huge opportunity for, Christians, for the family kind of audience, and to say, hey, this is the kind of content that plays. And other films that have done that strategy, like The Greatest Showman and others, had an incredible run. So we fingers crossed, it could really be a special window for this story.
It's awesome. And then coming about a month after that, on the heels of that, is the Super Bowl. So you've got a little kind of a second win, possibly of a storyline of getting promotion to. That's so great. What I'm curious to know what you have learned. What's your personal takeaway from marinating in this story for 2 some odd years?
Yeah, I think the thing that I love is just the whole Underdog experience, and what does it take not only to make people succeed at their dreams, but what does it take for you to give up on your dreams? What's your pain threshold to quitting? And I think the testament of Kurt and Brenda is him staying with it for the amount of time, believing that God had called him to do something really big, and not quitting, and having a wife that wouldn't quit on him either. And together as a team, Brenda wasn't the cheerleader in the stands. She was absolutely his equal in fighting for this dream. And they were partners in this journey. And just that moment where anybody else would have just thrown in the towel, all of a sudden he gets his opportunity. And not only does he, succeed, he dominates. And because he knew what he was fighting for. And I think Kurt always had the arm of a champion. He always had the ability, but what he lacked was the heart of a champion. And he got that through Brenda and Zach and Jesse, their other kid. And it was in that he said, this is what's worth fighting for. So when he finally got his opportunity, he knew what it was about. It wasn't about fame. It wasn't about fortune. It was about fighting for his family. That was alliterated. That was cool. So that
write that down.
So yeah, we're gonna use that one again. But the idea, for me as somebody, as a kind of a dreamer as well, is we've been through 2 years where everybody has felt like the underdog. Everybody has felt like they can't win, and the deck is kind of stacked against them. And I think we need hope like we need air, and to have something where you see the everyman, the little guy win. I think the audience is going to walk away inspired that, hey, maybe I can hope again, and maybe my dreams aren't done. And I think we all need that desperately. We call it, kind of the spirit of Frank Capra, bringing back that old school optimism of seeing the little guy win. And I can't wait to see audiences engage with this story.
And Christmas is a perfect day for that.
Mm-hmm. So I've always heard that some of the best stories are true. Tell specifically, if you can. You can't make this story up. Like, even if you were the world's best film writer, I don't think you could make the story up. Tell us maybe an aspect or two that you definitely could not have made up that's in here.
The cool thing about it, is people were saying that when it was happening. So Al Michaels said it in the Super Bowl about Kurt Warner, and then I was watching Good Morning America yesterday or day before yesterday, and Kurt Warner and Zachary Levi were on. And Good Morning America played back a clip of Kurt being interviewed 21 years earlier after winning the Super Bowl on Good Morning America. And on that, the host, Charlie Plummer, if you were to try to pitch this as a movie, nobody would believe that any of this is possible. But it happened.
Wow.
And so, people were saying it back then. So to kind of come full circle, yeah, all the elements, we didn't have to invent anything for this story. It was just really about compressing it into 2 hours. Yeah. But some of those stories that were amazing for me, particularly were on the personal front, the tornado sequence. I won't give it all away, but there's a tornado sequence that happens in the film that's a really pivotal moment. And that happened in real life. Exactly as we portray it. And that was one that was really a shifting for Kurt to really say what he wanted to fight for, rather than this illusion of fame, of really fighting for what he saw in his wife and Brenda and in her faith, that changed his life forever. And so that really happened in real life. And so for us, we were able to kind of bring that to life in a really authentic way. And that's not movie magic. That's real.
Awesome.
Wow.
It is real. The story alone that from Sports Illustrated or news is amazing enough. The people, the heart behind it, even equal to that, and how amazing it really is. We know that stories can entertain us, but I think this film is a great example of how stories can also serve to remind us of who we wanted to be way back when. We need to be reminded of that, because life takes it out of you. Life kicks it out of you. And every now and then we have a little oasis of a narrative that you're like, that's right. That's who I want to be. That's the dad I want to be. That's the mom I want to be. That's the family I want to have. That's the relationship with God I think I might be able to reach out to. This movie, American Underdog, brings all of that into crystal clear clarity. It is amazing. Andy, thank you for joining us. We look forward to seeing you next time on your next project.
Appreciate you guys. We'll see you around.
Thanks for spending time with us on Steve Brown, Etcetera. Hey, also, thanks for your help in helping us grow our YouTube channel. Believe it or not, we are now north of 6,000 subscribers. If you would like to get the early notice on when these shows and when our other videos, like sermon videos, go live, swing by youtube.com/KeyLife Network. And while you're there, there's a big red shiny button that says subscribe. Click that and then click the bell, and you will be the first to know. Great conversation with Andy, and great film for Christmas. Although, today is Christmas, we're about to shift our focus really to the new year. And with the new year comes new plans and goals and all kinds of ambitions. I know somebody hearing the Kurt Warner story would love to achieve that kind of success. Who wouldn't? And you know what? Maybe somebody listening right now will enter that level of success in whatever your particular endeavor is. In the minute we have left, I would love to tell you about a different kind of success story, about a guy named Ed. Ed worked for about 30 plus years as an insurance salesman. Even longer than that, he served and still serves actually as a 5th grade Sunday school teacher. Ed never won any awards. He's never appeared on TV. But Ed's influence was real and felt nonetheless. And I know because as a kid, every time I got up early in the morning and I found him in his office reading his Bible, it was one more tiny little chapter in this success story of Ed, my dad. It reminds me of 1 Thessalonians 4:11, which says, this should be your ambition, to live a quiet life, minding your own business and doing your own work, just as we told you before. Or to paraphrase a line that was written by a filmmaker friend of mine, Rick Swartzwelder, the world has plenty of great men, but not enough good men. So if you're looking at the new year, yes, by all means, strive for excellence. That's what I want to do. And let's be ambitious. There is nothing wrong with that. But also, let's not lose sight of something very important. That God was just as pleased with Kurt Warner when he was hoisting up a can of baked beans to the top of a grocery store shelf as he was when Kurt hoisted up that shiny Lombardi trophy. Kathy, who do we have next week?
And how do I follow that? Especially when I say I have no earthly idea.
Bring in the violin.
No, we say it's a gift. It's
a gift. It's a gift.
What's in the box? You're gonna
gift. Yes, it's a gift for the new year, and God loves me if I have a guest or if I don't have a guest.
That's right.
Okay. Happy New Year, everybody.
Yeah, Happy New Year. Show up, and we'll see who we get. But if 2021 was any indicator, it's going to be a dynamite guest, and we sure hope that you will join us again then. Until next time, remember, be safe and stay dangerous. And oh yeah, Merry Christmas.
Happy New Year.
And Happy New Year.
Yeah, all of that.
Auld Lang Syne.
Time to eat. Y'all going to the movies later?
Yeah, let's go see the movies. Let's go see the movie.